please call the roll.
Eric Alderetti, Phil Becerra,
Here.
Bruce Bauer,
Here.
James Gartner,
Here.
Mark McLaughlin,
Here.
Lynette Verino. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a portion for public comments on non-agenda items. Does a member of the public have any public comments on non-agenda items? If so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary, and after introduction, have 3 minutes to speak unless an extension of time is granted by the chairman. Seeing none? Okay. Move on to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar item with just a minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Verino and Commissioner Alderetti absent. Do we have any communication disclosures from agendized items? Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to disclose that I received a phone call today from Pamela Cepetto regarding agenda item number 1. She had asked if I had any questions, and I did not at that time. Thank you.
I also have the exact same disclosure. Ditto. Commissioner Becerra. Commissioner Bauer.
And I also had the same contact.
Okay, we'll fill out those forms and get them to you. This is time and place for the public hearing on item number 1. If you wish to address the Planning Commission, please file a request to speak form with the secretary. Comments are limited to 3 minutes unless an extension of time is granted by the chairman. So when you see those lights going red, stop talking, please. The action of the Planning Commission is final following consent of the City Council unless allowed by the Santa Ana Municipal Code. An appeal to the City Council is filed with the Clerk of the Council, and a copy is sent to the Planning Department within 10 days from the date of the Commission's action, or unless set for public hearing by City Council. Staff will now make a presentation on item number 1.
Good evening. We are on. There we are. We are on. Certified transportation was an item that you continued from your last meeting. It's on at 628 East Washington. It is a bus. We have to move around too, I guess. What? Am I at the computer? How come it worked that? Oh, perfect. Thank you, Vince. In terms of an overview of the project, we are looking at, as a reminder, the applicant actually owns 2 properties and operates his business from 2 properties. One is the subject property. It's in yellow on the left east side of the aerial photo. He currently is operating on lot 1, and the proposal is to expand onto lot 2, including consolidating the 2 lots and constructing a new building on lot 1. What came up at the last meeting, though, was issues related to the operation of both of the facilities. On the lot to the east, outlined in blue, on the overhead is an existing storage facility. It is not part of this particular project. It's not part of this application. So I have to kind of reiterate that. So in terms of your responsibilities, conditioning or addressing that site in particular is not part of this application tonight. However, the applicant has met with the neighborhood last week and discussed their project at your direction before this planning commission meeting, and they have agreed to a number of they have agreed to operate in a certain manner that would be more sensitive on that site, on that blue site. And although that's not part of your discretionary action tonight, they have agreed to do that. Some of the issues that they have, that they are talking about is on the existing site, the blue site, they're talking about maintaining business hours between 6 and 8 p.m., not permitting any actual bus repairs on that site, focusing it on school bus parking only, and posting a 24-hour call center number and putting a new fence along that, on the Custard side to minimize some of the nuisances that would affect then Custer, which is the boundary for the residential properties to the east. Now, again, this is something that the applicant has agreed to, committed to, and made that commitment to the neighborhood. The conditions on the left side will be part of the CUP, and they include limiting business hours from 6 to 10 p.m., using it for storing tour buses, having all of their maintenance and washing operations within this new building that will be constructed as part of the project. They will again post a 24-hour call number, and including an 8-foot block and wrought iron fence around the entire perimeter of the site. That concludes staff's report on the meeting between the applicant and the neighborhood, and staff stands ready to answer any questions you might have.
Does the commission have any questions for staff this time? I know we had some last time, but Commissioner Bauer, any questions, comments? No. Commissioner Alderete, any? Okay, thank you. I'd like to open the public portion of the hearing, and I'm going to save the applicant for last. I do have some speaker cards. We've got Debbie McEwen.
Good evening, Debbie McEwen, French Park. Well, French Park wasn't invited to that meeting, so we're pretty much in the dark about that. We don't know exactly what's going on. That's why we're here today. I had some questions, and maybe you can address them to the applicant. One of the things we were not sure of, well, I'll get to the really easy one first, is the landscaping. They had landscaped the corner when I'm assuming we're all on the same page of the corner of the yellow figure there, and then the empty lot was just left fallow and horrible for the last few years. It's totally untouched. That was unfortunate. We had to look at that. So that was one item. The other item is I'm thinking about ingress, egress, and how many more buses per day will there be? Only the buses that they currently have? Will they be drawing more buses to that site? That is problematic for us. As you all know, Washington is a very tiny street. It was not meant for that. It was sacrificed, our neighborhood was sacrificed when they put in the freeway on and off ramp like 27 years ago. But I'm hoping that we don't become a thoroughfare for all bus traffic, traveling there on Washington. I said, I don't know what the plan is. Maybe it's all in-house and they're just going to move the same buses they've always had to and from in that spot. But I would be interested in knowing the answer to that because, I said, Washington has plenty. We'd like to share it with somebody else for a while. Again, because I know nothing about the plan, the rest of it is just shooting in the dark. So I'm not gonna keep asking or wondering about what's happening here till we hear their presentation. And then I don't know if something sounds odd, maybe one of you can address it for me. I think you know what we want, some shred of quality of life in French Park. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Sam Romero.
Good evening, folks. Report on the meeting we had with the applicant. It was a very cordial meeting. We were quite pleased the way they communicated with us and they understood how it's affecting the neighborhood for a long, long time. For the most part, what we agreed to and what they needed were probably around 95% happy. Like I say, it was very cordial. We did address, as the lady just spoke about the traffic, we spoke about that. We also, I mentioned there was 70 units going on Santiago Street, and that's going to create a lot of traffic too. Also addressed that. I also, at that meeting, I mentioned anybody had gotten a hold of the projects across the street from the old community hospital, which is now like a rest home. It's about 150 feet from those. I think there was 30-some units there. I think it was Barry Cuttle built those units, so I don't know if they ever got a hold of them or not. But like I say, for the most part, we agree. We like the hours that they've come up with. Besides that, I myself don't have a lot more to say, but there's some other folks that just like to speak on a few items here that would make it even better. I'll let them speak on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam Andrade.
Good evening. I live on Logan, and I didn't attend the meeting, but I knew of it. And when they came back, they were saying that they had agreed, the applicant, that there would be no maintenance on the property that they reside now. And when we came in stating that, they seemed to think they can still do maintenance and washing of buses on the old property. And we wanted that to stop. We understood it was going to be a storage for the buses, and that was okay. Our concern also is how many buses, because it seems, I've been in the neighborhood now 15 years, and these businesses are just growing that are in that area, and where they have 2 trucks, 3 trucks, they suddenly have 100. So I'm concerned, yes, there's so many buses right now, and I don't know what the number is, I haven't counted, but I'm afraid they're gonna expand and they're gonna have 200 or 300 buses, and that's a concern for the neighborhood. And my other thought was, since we have so many buildings or businesses, if there could be like placards on the front of every business that what the ordinances are or the CUPs that have been agreed upon, so when the police show up they can see them right there and they can address it with the businesses. I know that's more than just this, but I wanted it for this. I thought this would be a start, because the cops go and they go, well, we don't know what they are. Planning's closed, till 8 o'clock Monday, and so they don't do anything. So I thought that'd be something they could see right there on the wall, and they could address it with the people. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecilia Rodriguez, do I have that right? Yes. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Rodriguez, and I live on Logan. been there for many, 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 many years. Anyway, this thing about the bus, when we came in today, I don't know what her name is, the lady said that they were going to do maintenance on both sides, okay, on the yellow side and on the blue side. Okay, maintenance on the blue side has been done there for many years illegally, okay, and we wanted that to stop. Now, one of the persons from the bus place said, well, we'll do it, say about 95% will be working on the yellow, and I said, oh, and about 5% on the blue? And he said, well, yeah. I said, no, because it should be 100% on the yellow, not on the blue anymore. If you're going to build this building and make it all nice and whatever, and build your car wash thing in there, and because they start with 5%, and pretty soon nobody pays attention to them, and then it's 10%, and then it's 50% on one side, 50% on the other. And then everybody says, well, no, we can't stop it now. It's been going on for a while, just like now. Nobody's been able to stop it, that they do maintenance work there. They've done it for 20 years, and nobody's done anything about it. So who suffers? Our neighborhood suffers. And they also need to fix that fence that's on Custer that looks like, I don't even know what it looks like anymore. I mean, it's all tore up, it's ugly, ugly maintenance around. So if it's gonna stay like that, I don't agree with whatever they wanna put in that section. But yeah, they need to fix it up, and they need to come to a decision that yes, it's going to be 100%, just like it says on there, all maintenance will be done on the yellow, not on the blue. And as far as them washing their buses there, where does all this water go? And are they using good community water, or is it a recycled thing? If they're washing that many buses. We can't even use water to water our lawns, yet they're gonna wash buses? That, to me, does not seem right either. So they need to find a solution for using this and putting this up there. And I went down there and spoke to a lot of people on the French Park side, letting them know what was happening, because I didn't think anybody had told them, which I was right, that no one told them anything, which I don't think that was fair either. But nevertheless, if we're gonna do it, it needs to be done by the rule, not if and maybe, and just a few, and not too many. Okay?
Okay, and we have the applicant, Pamela.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. We would like to thank city staff and the Logan neighborhood for giving us the opportunity to discuss their issues and their comments from the last meeting. We believe that the proposed project at Washington and Santiago site, with the conditions of approval that are in the staff report now, would in fact assist in making this project more compatible with the neighborhood and addressing also the neighborhood comments. This allows certified transportation to provide a building which, for maintenance and washing of the buses within an enclosed building, which will significantly reduce noise impacts to the surrounding community. The Washington Avenue building is an architectural style that will enhance the neighborhood and provides for 10-foot landscape buffers on both the Washington and Santiago frontages. As noted in the staff report, the new building, certified transportation will be able to relocate the touring buses from the Custer Street site to the Washington site. And with the new building, any washing or maintenance at the Custer site will occur between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., which would significantly reduce the noise impacts to the surrounding Logan neighborhood residents. In addition, per the follow-up with the city staff's certified transportation is planning to construct an 8-foot high concrete block wall, which they've already let the construction contract to do, that would surround the Custer Street boundary and replace the chain link fence. It will also aid in addressing the noise impacts to the neighborhoods along Custer Street. We also agreed to provide, they also offered to provide a 24-hour phone number that the community can contact if they are having any issues with noise or traffic. Now, I know that there were also some comments that had to do with the access, and I wanted to point out that on the yellow parcel, the buses will be accessing from Santiago Street and exiting on Washington. The number of buses that is in the program for this company remains the same. However, there are additionally 8 parking spaces for buses that have been identified on the yellow parcel. Mostly we need that additional space, or the certified transportation needs those additional parking spaces to accommodate the additional operations that they're going to be moving over from Custer. I think the other thing that adding the contact information as placards on these sites will also occur. I think there was a question about how people would know what number to call, but it will be on, we will post those on the site. I think, with regard, I think there was a comment about water and how the water for washing the buses occurs. That washing of buses will comply with both the state and the city, state, and federal standards of water use. So that will not increase or be any different. Other than now, it'll be easier to contain because it's in one facility. Let's see. I think I've covered the community comments except for one, which was the notion that all operations from the blue site go to the yellow site. And in our discussions with the community, we talked about the ability to be able to do some maintenance during the hours of operation that this area is being limited to for maintenance. So although it would be for a minimal amount compared to what is happening today. I think that answers the questions from the community, but we stand ready to answer any other questions.
We have a couple of questions. Commissioner Becerra?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff informed us that the application before us is the 628 East Washington site. And I appreciate you and staff meeting with the community and going through some of the issues that were discussed at the last hearing that we continued. Even though they're not listed in the 6 conditions and the conditions of approval, would the applicant be willing to enter into those as conditions on this approval if the commission were to approve it, such as limiting the hours of operation on the Custer site from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., let's see, and then also including the bus returns being only between those hours on the Custer site?
I think I'll need to ask them. Andrew, I want you to come up too.
If I may, I'm David Gregory, resident of Certified Transportation what we would intend to do and what we would be comfortable doing would be transferring the buses that do most of the later work to the Washington Street side project. And what would go on the Custer Street side would be the school buses. Those school buses, 99 to 9/10% of the time, come back to the yard before 8 o'clock at night. I can tell you that, in all honesty, the best laid plans of mice and men will be to do 100% of it. But that's the best laid plans, and every now and then, something's gonna happen that one of those buses is gonna come back in there late at night.
So is there a way, though, that if a bus is coming back after 8 PM, that it couldn't just return to the Washington site?
We could attempt to do that, and we will attempt to do as much as we can. And again, we'll do it the best we can with that.
Well-
But again, it's a 99%. You know, I'll tell you it's gonna be 100%, and we'll do the best we can to get there.
Well, and I don't think that's good enough for the neighbors. So I guess that's why I would like, and again, obviously, it's a decision of this commission, but I, at some point, will probably ask that these conditions be placed in the approval should this commission decide to approve it. And so what I'd like to ask the applicant is,
So what you're saying is that you're gonna put conditions on part of the project that's not part of the project.
your operation impacts the whole area. Again, this is a discussion that has to happen all in this commission. I'm just asking your willingness, because when I read the staff report, I felt really good, because from what I read, staff, yourselves, and the community all met, and you guys came to some sort of agreement. What I'm hearing now, though, is we'll try to do it, but
No, I
to
didn't say
me,
we'll
I
try
feel
to
like
do
a
it. I
commitment
said
in
we'll
right,
do it.
if I may finish, I feel like a commitment from you would just go a long way towards the community to say, you know what we talked about is absolutely what we would like to, or what we will do, not like, will do. So all I'm asking at this point is just simply, would you agree to those conditions? That's all I'm asking at this point.
Excuse me, Commissioner Becerra, I just have a question for our legal counsel. Now, we're taking action on, we'll call it the yellow site right now. Can we be commingling here with the blue site? And that's the only concern I have, Commissioner Becerra.
No, and I appreciate that.
And I don't think we should commingle it.
Well, and I appreciate that, but in other developments where the developer comes in and they say, well, we'll make an improvement off-site, the jurisdiction doesn't say, no, you can only do on-site improvements. So there's always going to be, again, that's where I said, if the applicant in good faith was willing to agree to that condition, then that's the voluntary action of the
But when it comes back to the commission, I'm not going to suggest this group commingle the project. That's all I'm saying. So when it does come back to our discussion, we won't be commingling the project. We can't commingle one to the other. Even though logically I see where you're headed, and I appreciate that because we want a good project, but we really, right now we're trying to build a very good project in the yellow site, we'll call it. And the blue site will hopefully be improved by that. Now, what I want to find out from the neighbors when we do have a discussion is how that meeting went and those kind of questions. So I'm just suggesting, and I think legal counsel is backing me up on this, we can't commingle it.
Well, and again, I'm not saying we can require it. I'm saying that if I made a motion, you guys can obviously say no to it.
Okay,
But what I'm also
then we'll wait and say no to it. We'll wait and say no to it.
What I was asking, well, you would say. What I was asking, though, is whether the applicant would agree to it. That's all I was asking. So he could say no, and that's fine. I was just asking the question.
Sure. Commissioner Alderete.
I just had a quick clarification. When I heard you speak initially, it was Custard Street property. Is it, if we could call it lot yellow, and, I mean, did you mean lot yellow or lot blue? In terms of the hours of operation?
No. What I'm saying is the application submitted to us is for what's called Lot Yellow. That's 628 East Washington.
Got it.
What I'm asking the applicant, or I had asked the applicant, was because of what I read in the staff report when I've heard in the presentation, there was some sort of agreement between the community and the applicant to limit the hours of operation on the blue site, the 1038 North Custer site. So what I was asking the applicant is if they would agree, given that what I've heard at first, well, what I read was they agreed to it. What I'm hearing verbally is, well, we'll try our best to do it. To me, I don't feel comfortable for the community standpoint.
No, that was a different question.
I disagree with you. I think we did agree to do it.
So you'd agree to a condition?
Yeah, I think we have agreed to do it.
In a condition?
I told you that we will limit the hours on the Blue Yard operation to basically the buses coming and going between 6 and 8.
And so you would agree to a condition of that?
That's already listed, though,
We will
isn't it?
do that.
No, it's not a condition.
But in all honesty,
No, I think the issue is that we're basically into a logistic issue here. We will, certified transportation will agree to that, but legally, the ability for the city to condition the yellow parcel to that agreement is not available to us because it's not an application on file. So I think really what we were really concerned about is the instrument by which, and I think that's perhaps your concern, Commissioner Becerra.
My concern-
The instrument by which there's a public record that has been agreed to. Right?
I think, and I don't want to speak for the Logan community, but I think what the concern expressed was having something that they could actually look at and say, this is in writing, this is legally binding, this is something that they will uphold to. And it's great that we're hearing that the applicant's willing to do that, but I'm saying when we're long gone and staff's long gone and there comes an issue in the future on that site, nobody's going to dig up the recording of this meeting and go, well, do you remember back in July of 2016? There should be something that's really simple and easily accessible that they can look at and say, this was agreed upon, this has teeth, and that's all that I'm advocating for at this point.
Okay, and I think it's probably up to
Commissioner?
staff to talk about how that's done.
We got a whole group of people bugging me for some questions, so we'll circle back, but go ahead.
Okay.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
My concern is this. I mean, I believe that it's clear that yellow is not conditioned in this whole thing. That's clear to me. So I wouldn't move forward to say that it had to be a condition in this project. What's not clear is definitions. And what's defined up there is number 2. It says no repairs at this yard.
In the blue yard.
In the blue yard, yeah.
Yeah.
No repairs in the blue yard.
Right.
Yet you didn't say that.
No.
You said we will do some maintenance in the blue yard.
And
let me finish.
Sure,
Let me
sure.
finish if I may.
Sure.
So I mean, this is a condition that staff has interpreted it as a result of the meeting and said no repairs will be done.
That's
And
not what happened,
repairs and
though.
maintenance to me are synonymous.
Right, but that's not what happened in the meeting.
But that's what was presented today by staff. Staff said.
Right, but
staff
that's not
said-
what we wrote the staff that were in the minutes of the meeting.
But you see, I'm misled then, because what was presented by staff is that there will be no repairs.
Right.
Yet you're saying there will be repairs, which the neighbors say that they don't want repairs. And so we're really not, we haven't got conclusions right now with what was believed to be some of the action items that you were going to go off and work. I mean, I think it's clear to me that there's no agreement in that area, and that was one of the items that was considered to be an issue. And
Right, that's
I'm not
correct.
trying to, I mean.
That's correct.
It comes down to that. I mean,
It's just that one issue.
well, I'm not sure that's the only issue, because the other one, I agree that
Well,
you've
from
answered.
from our meeting.
Right, but I agreed that you've answered the question with respect to the fact that there's not an increase of buses, so I think that one of the other neighbors who asked about, was this an increase of buses and everything? What has not also been defined, so to speak, is, how these buses come in and out of the neighborhood, and if we can maybe look at that definition, because I tend to agree Washington Avenue to go, out of the Logan area on Washington Avenue is really a challenge for a bus.
Can I answer that? I'll answer that.
That one you can
quickly.
answer.
Real quickly. Our goal for our drivers is for them to use Santiago, period.
Okay.
Coming and going. Now, at that short distance from where the gate's gonna be on Washington, we will have to use Washington from the exit gate to get to Santiago. We don't want the buses on Washington. It's too small for the buses.
Right.
We don't want them going, we tell them, like right now today, we tell them they can't come and go on Custer Street. We couldn't use Custer Street. If
Right.
we didn't have the access to Santiago,
Right.
I'll be honest with you, we'd have never occupied that blue yard in the first place.
Right.
I mean, and we recognize that these buses, because it just costs us money when we start tearing people's cars up. And that's what we would wind up doing out there.
Yeah.
But our goal is for them to come and go either direction on Santiago.
Which, if that satisfies French Park from the standpoint of solving that issue, I think that's a a move in the right direction.
And I'll tell you that, and it goes back to this 99.9%. You know, we have pickups for the city when we go to Logan Park. Logan Park is on Custer Street. We have to use Custer Street when we do that. We go to Davis Elementary School to do pickups for the city, for San Antonio Unified. We'll have to use Washington for those. So it goes back to we'll do every effort we can, but there's gonna be that one exception in life, the best laid plans of mice and men. When we go in and out of Davis Elementary, we're gonna have to use Washington.
That makes sense, because Davis is right adjacent to that.
And Logan Park is on Custer.
Right, I mean, that makes sense, and I don't think French Park would have a concern about that either.
But the first time they see the bus on Washington, and I say no, guess who's gonna get a call?
Well, you get a call.
Why is your bus
Yeah,
on
you will.
Washington?
You will.
And I just wanna be able to say, we're gonna do the absolute best we can
Right.
to make the community a better place, and we always will do that. But, you know, we still have to operate the business the way we have to operate the business.
I don't disagree with that. I just think we don't have an agreement between what's been presented by staff and what we have at this point in time.
Yeah, I think really the last remaining question about that is whether there is any maintenance at all on the blue lot.
Well, it
And
says no up there.
It says
so
no up
that's-
there, but I was told that in the meeting, that the discussion at the meeting was that maintenance, minimal maintenance could occur between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. in case of a breakdown of a school bus on that lot.
I'll give you the example of what, in my mind, what goes on in my mind and what's gonna happen there once we move out of it. Our intent is to build a property, a building so that our employees have a decent place to work these days. I mean, that was fine when we started the company years ago, when we had a few buses and we've grown it to where we are today. But our goal is to make it a better place for our employees as well. What happens, because there is still gonna be a wash rack left on that piece of property on there with the clarifier and all of that on it to manage all of the wastewater and things like that. So our intent will be, rather than move buses back and forth across the street, and we could do that, we could move a bus across the street and wash it, but I think that's really it's actually more abusive to the neighborhood than moving the bus within the rack itself and within the yard itself and washing the bus within itself. So,
Which will now be enclosed.
Which will now, on the Washington side, it'll be, or the yellow side, it'll be enclosed. And we'll still use the old wash rack for the school buses on the blue side.
Which is fine, because that's a business decision that you're
Right.
making, because you supposedly put this better, more efficient piece of equipment into the new facility, and you're gonna use something on the other facility. And I guess I'm not considering washing a bus as
Okay, so
maintenance,
that was-
all right?
All right.
But repairs and maintenance, I mean, maintenance, I mean, buses, it doesn't make sense shuffling buses back and forth, because you are gonna create more noise and everything else in the neighborhood. Washing them, if you're washing them during the hours of that time, that to me is acceptable, but repairs
I think
is
we're
what I'm
kind of rehashing sort of the same thing.
Exactly.
So I think we're just
But our
making
intent-
circles here.
Our intent is really to move it over the other side. But, come along and we've got to replace a window. Are we gonna move the bus to replace the window, or are we gonna carry the window to the bus? Is that maintenance or is it not?
That's a repair.
It's a repair, I agree. And if I do a window on that side, am I in violation of that agreement?
Yes.
That's why, so will some maintenance be done on that side of the yard? In my opinion, I think I'd rather carry the window to the bus rather than fire the bus up, take it across the street to do a job that I can do in 20 minutes where it's sitting. For me to fire that bus up and take it across the street, it wastes fuel, it creates pollution that we don't have to create. So why wouldn't I, from a practical point of view, carry the window to the bus?
I'm not disagreeing. I'm reading what I'm seeing here is number 2 that says no repairs.
Right.
And no repairs is no repairs. That's the basic
Right,
discussion.
right.
Okay? And you were saying, but I might have some repairs.
But that
That's-
is what we said at the community meeting.
Our intent is not to do any heavy maintenance on that side of the property.
So maybe it's just the graphics need a verbiage change. I think we're kind of rehashing sort of the same thing. And Commissioner Bauer, did you have any questions? And I'm going to circle back to
Sure.
Commissioner Becerra.
Partner,
You're done?
Commissioner, before we,
Yeah, if I might interject. Good evening, Chairman Gardner and members of the commission. I was present at the meeting on June 29th. I apologize, Holly couldn't be here this evening. She had another commitment. My recollection, and I believe Mr. Sam Romero is also here, was that there was some sort of commitment to discontinue all repairs at the Blue Lot site. And so the whole purpose behind the discussion had been to illustrate the potential impacts to the neighborhood and the building itself being used to house any repair and maintenance for buses and so forth. So that was my understanding, which is reflected accurately in the report now. Going back to what's approved on the Blue Lot, it is a legal non-conforming situation. The site out there has been approved to operate as a bus storage and maintenance facility since 1998 and continues to retain that permitted use out there. It is legal and they have been operating since 98. That's what I can offer you.
So may I ask a question?
Sure.
And again, I don't want to commingle projects here, but if I were to just isolate the Blue site, that's permitted legally to do maintenance on that. I mean, he could repair a window or do what.
That is correct.
Without code violation whatsoever.
Yes.
But the goal is to move all the maintenance, let's just say 95% of it, to the yellow site, the site in question. And so then it's maybe what, I wasn't at the meeting, so, so maybe a more accurate statement would have been 5% of the maintenance on the Blue Lot, 95% in the yellow lot. But if I read the graphics, it says no bus repairs. So there is logic behind wanting to carry a window across the street, then move a whole bus.
Yeah.
So to me, you're correct. The applicant's correct. That's logical. And if it's not illegal, so I just don't know how one could force someone not to do that. He's got to run his business. So I think that, and I'm not sure. I know Commissioner Becerra was presenting a potential conditions, but I just didn't feel we could put conditions on the Blue site, but we can talk about it. And I didn't want to cut you off, and I didn't want to cut you off, but I think we're making a big circle. We're saying the same thing. And the same thing is, if the graphics is incorrect on the amount of maintenance, then maybe we just need to say, hey, you know what, it's really 5% of the time we might have to change a tire across the street. And personally, that doesn't bother me, but I wasn't at the meeting. So anyway, Commissioner Becerra.
I have a question for staff. So my colleagues keep referring to this graphic, which is an excellent graphic, and it lays things out.
Yeah,
there seems to be some sort of confusion as to what was said at the meeting versus what's on the graphic, what's in the report, et cetera. I think the concern that was expressed by Logan, and Logan can correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of what they've expressed is that they're concerned that what was agreed upon will not be enshrined in some sort of enforceable way. So my question to staff is, I understand, for the record, I understand that the application is for the site outlined in yellow, but how do we, forget the word condition, just how do we assure, what is the instrument that we could use here at this commission that would obligate the Blue Lot to actually follow what was agreed upon at the meeting? And again, that's why I initially asked it as, would the applicant be willing to voluntarily accept a condition? If the condition is not the appropriate instrument, I would ask staff, what is that appropriate instrument?
Sure.
The applicant.
All right,
The
so
applicant
to address your question about the infographic on your staff report there on page 3, the last paragraph before the general plan and zoning consistency speaks to the summary of the meeting that occurred on the 29th. And I'll read here, as to a result of the meeting, the applicant agreed to restrict hours of operation on the Custer site to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and will no longer be handling repairs and maintenance, as that function will be relegated to the Washington Street site. So that was the flavor of the meeting. I also concur with Holly, who put this report together. I used this information to prepare the infographic here before you this evening. And in terms of a condition, again, on the Blue site, I think we really need to get our attention to the yellow site and start talking about either an operational plan or something that could be submitted that would then kind of as a company-wide requirement be submitted for review on that site. And then, planning staff could review that operation to see if there's any impacts in the neighborhood. That's one idea. I really don't know much more we can condition on the site to control what's going on off-site.
And I'm not trying to pick apart at the infographic. I'm just saying is that it sounds like from all the discussion being had, there was some sort of details, whether it's hours of operation, what kind of operation, how much operation, et cetera. What my concern is, we don't approve staff reports, we approve resolutions, excuse me. So I'm just concerned, I would like, again, this is just myself speaking, something at some point that would actually have some teeth to limit the blue site. This is a discretionary action. I mean, we, at the same time, could just vote no on the whole project and move on. But I think just to provide comfort, again, my concern leaving the last meeting was if we were to approve the application for the yellow site as it was presented to us, then we would end up moving the impact over to the Custer site. And I think from what I discerned from my colleagues, that was something that they didn't feel comfortable doing. And so we ended up continuing the item.
Commissioner Sarah, sorry to interrupt you. I feel like
Can
interrupting.
I please just finish?
Go ahead and finish, but we're just trying to make sure our discussion then becomes amongst us.
So well, no, because I want to get to the point that,
Okay.
so I would like, again, so all this discussion happened, I appreciate all that happened, but I just don't feel comfortable just saying, well, there was a meeting, some stuff was talked about, and we're just going to take that as the gospel and move on. I feel like there should be something that we enter into, and that's where I defer to staff, that if a condition per this Exhibit A is not acceptable for the blue lot, then what is that instrument?
I can respond to that question. The applicant has offered to submit and file an operations plan for both sites, agreed to doing that as part of their entitlement. And we would keep that for our review and approval. So they have offered, as long as they agree to it and agree to abide by it, and we approve that, that is a binding document between the two of us.
I have used that mechanism in the past where we submit an operational plan to the Director of Planning and Building for the department approval, and that is basically how we as the applicant commit to operate the project. And it's a condition to submit the plan, and we submit the plan and it's approved by Director of Planning and Building.
And I like that idea. I think the only concern that I have, though, is you're telling me, or you have told me in just this meeting, that we can't impose any sort of conditions on that site. Granted, we wouldn't be listing specific conditions, but even to condition that they come up with an operational plan on a legally non-conforming site.
No, the condition would be on the yellow site.
The condition would be on the yellow site.
But to impose some sort of operational standards on the blue site. So that kind of seems like it's in conflict with what.
No, we wouldn't need to. It would simply be how we're going to operate on the yellow site. But
No,
it would,
so
it would
this doesn't
address.
cover the blue site.
It addresses the business operations.
But it doesn't address the blue site.
Yes, it will, because the business operations are intricately linked with the blue site.
Yeah.
So the operational plan that you would submit.
Will address.
Company-wide.
It's the staff just presented, it's the best
Yeah.
presentation. Staff just said, we'll define yellow. When you define yellow, you basically, if you say hours of operation are gonna be this, and basically, all maintenance will be done on that facility, that side of the facility, you've defined.
If we could do that, I'm fine with it. My concern is that we were just told by staff that we don't have any ability to regulate in any shape or
But
form.
We're not.
Regulating. You're regulating the yellow. That's what you're doing. You're regulating the yellow. You're
Right.
saying that all the maintenance will be done on the yellow side. That's the answer to the question, okay?
But that doesn't prevent them from doing something on the blue site. And I
It
think that was the
doesn't
concern of the
Well,
community.
right, and the reason for that is we can't, as you know, CUP runs with the land. It's going to run with that project with that site. The thing, what if Certified Transportation were to sell that site to redevelop as a residential project, right, which is allowed in the overlay? His operational plan that's why we can't condition it, right? So that's why, as a business operation, we can submit an operational plan on the yellow site because it encompasses the entirety of the business and not this project site.
Okay.
defining the business, not the site.
Commissioner Alderete.
I am going to beat a dead horse. On this sort of operational plan for the site, what would the city's enforcement mechanism be? It's an agreement between the applicant and the city, correct? So
That's
the
correct.
form of the enforcement would be what, a breach of contract because they
It
failed?
would be similar to a breach of contract, and it would have to be enforced through code enforcement, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think operationally how this would work. If someone from the community calls and complains, that then gets referred to code enforcement, correct? And it is running with the land. That's kind of where I got confused because it's not
On
a
the
recorded
yellow.
document. It's not.
No, it would run with the operation.
Got it.
It would run with the business itself.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's a contractual agreement between the city as one legal entity and the business owner as the other legal
Got it.
entity.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant?
Well, here's
Ma'am?
it. Wait, sorry.
Go ahead.
It just popped. I'd like to see this agreement because I'm not usually inclined to say, "Oh, well, let's just let staff get it done." Not because I don't trust staff. I just like to dot my i's and cross my t's. So that's really.
Just like, you know, our preference is that it stops with the Director of Building and Planning, because we hope that tonight we will get the direction from the commission on what the points of that plan will be, so that you won't need to look at it again. The only point that we're questioning tonight is whether or not we're allowed to do any repairs at all on the Custer site. And the extent of repairs that we're talking about is as described by Mr. Griffin here, which is if the window comes out or a tire needs to be changed, we think we should be allowed to do that on a school bus between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. So that's the only difference between what's up there and I think is an issue of question still.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other questions for applicant?
How would you define that? How would you carve that out?
Oh, yeah, how could we?
I think generally
good
that
question.
might be acceptable if we set forth the points of the business operation agreement. But, that is a big one. I guess that's a big issue with the commission here is how do you define, it makes sense, I think, to me, and it sounds like to some of the other commissioners for the example you gave, but what they're concerned about is that morphs into this.
Yeah, and the noise.
And we're trying to be sensitive to that, we really are. The typical term I would use would be light maintenance. But light, again, but short of, you can't sit and list. I don't think we got enough paper.
What
to
you
list
can
every
do though,
possible thing.
you could say light maintenance and list examples, and then, that
Safe
would give
repair.
examples, and then even in the
Safe
future,
repair.
you can compare those to the examples.
Yeah.
Generally, quiet work.
That's a good idea.
Like a
Yeah.
window replacement, or, it does make sense not to. But I don't know how we can, you have this big yard there, you're gonna have buses in it. It's almost impractical not to do some minor fix over there, but the overall improvement of the situation is, and that we can bring back for discussion. So we just want to have questions for the applicant.
Yeah, I think the light repair is really what we're looking for to be able to do, but the things that make sense for us, not to have to fire the bus up and take it across the street. If we can walk over and do a repair in a half an hour, and not have to fire a bus up and take it across the street to do that half-hour repair.
Yeah.
Sometimes that makes more sense to us than trying to drive it across the street.
Well, and I think that has to be the dividing line. It has to be, the maintenance work can't be worse than firing up the bus, and that's just loud and smelly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience who hasn't spoken yet on the subject wish to speak that has or has not filled out a speaker card? Is there anybody in the audience that just wants to say another word or two, like the lady shaking her head in the back? Do you want to come on up? Come on. Because I can tell you want to tell us something. So. And I want to give the neighborhood the opportunity to speak. And But, we just kind of, we kind of, we don't want to beat
Yeah,
a dead horse
No,
here.
we don't want to beat a dead horse, but we also don't want our neighborhood to be getting worse and worse. We're trying to live there and trying to make everybody who lives there happy and like living there. We've been there for 60-some years living there. Oh, anyway, I have. So, I mean, this thing about, I've seen it already with Ware. We're only going to put 3 trucks in, and then there's 6,000 trucks in and out, in and out, in and out, all day, all night. Well, we can't catch them because code enforcement can't come out here in the middle of the night and find them. Huh?
Well,
So
they could,
what?
but-
We don't do nothing. Down the street right now, there's a place there. We promise, we're only storing trucks, okay? They're not storing trucks anymore. Now this guy is leasing out property. He's got 4 or 5 people leasing from him, and they park their trucks in there. So now there's 13 trucks and 3 trucks for cement trucks.
Well, there's
okay?
certain things that are
And
code
that's why I
enforcement.
say we bend over a little bit, and pretty soon we're kissing the ground. Because they keep on bending us and bending us and bending us, and nobody can help us because we can't catch them in the daytime. We can take a picture and show them pictures, and they say, well, that's not the right picture. We have to see it ourselves. So what makes us think that, okay, changing a window today doesn't lead to changing a fuel pump tomorrow? We didn't want to move it over there because we can't change the fuel pump over there. Easier for us to change it here. We didn't want to change all the tires and move it over there because it's just a tire.
But he
And
does
then we
still
go
have
into
to,
the
he
same
still has to
thing.
run his business, so that's the thing too.
I
With
understand
a
he has to run
logical
a business,
manner.
but we also have to live there.
Right. So we're
We
trying to
live
do a
there.
good project.
We're not working there. We live there. And our living there, and we're not moving. Like I said, I've been there for 60-some years. I'm not moving. So, first they come up with this thing that, from 6 to 8, we're gonna do this and this. And then we talk to somebody out there, and that's not what we said. We said this and this. Now we come in here, and now it's all ass backwards. Excuse me.
Were you at the meeting the other day that was the community meeting?
I didn't go to the community meeting.
So then-
Okay,
so-
but I had input on it with them. They went over there, okay? But from what that says there, no repairs. All of a sudden now, we're repairing something. That over there says all repairs. Now we're not repairing everything there because we don't want to start up the engine. But we did start it up all these years at 3 o'clock in the morning. We started it up every single day and beep, 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 all night long. How come they didn't think about that? This is the first 2, I think, probably the first 3 weeks since the last time that we were here, that there hasn't been any beeping, except for maybe twice.
Well, it
Okay?
sounds like they're trying to reach out to the community, and it's, so, from what I
Yeah,
heard.
but now they come in here and now it's changed. So then what's the reaching out to the community do? We're back to square one. It's still the same thing. You can't talk about blue because of yellow. You can't talk about yellow because of blue, but yet we can do this and we can't do that. So I think we need to sit down and figure out what we're gonna do again, because they come in here and they change it. Then what was the meeting about? We said one thing and then somebody misunderstood.
Well,
And
again,
that's
I wasn't
not-
there and
that-
you weren't
to
there,
me,
so
that's not a
I don't
good-
know. I don't
That's
know what
not a
happened
good
at the meeting.
explanation to me, misunderstood. And like I said, we'll start with changing a light bulb, and we're gonna go into changing, doing a whole engine in there. And then what? Oh, we didn't catch him. We can't do anything
I
about
still
it.
got to cut you off about 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's
I gave you a
just
second run, so.
like, it's just like being pregnant. You're pregnant. Too bad. You gotta have the baby. And this is exactly what happens to us every single time on Logan. We start out with a little thing like this, and pretty soon it's this big. And then we can't do a thing about it. So we're tired of being pushed and shoved and bent over, and that's why I say, they need to come up with another solution, or, talk again. I don't know, but they keep changing stuff. Once you make your decision, okay, we're doing this, then that's what we should stick to. Not come in here and say, well, shoulda, coulda been this way. Nope. We live there. I know you guys don't live any place where there's all this stuff, but we've lived there all these years.
Well, you may recall in the last meeting, I made some comparisons, so I won't
Yeah.
repeat myself.
Yeah, don't.
So, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ms. McEwen?
Thank you. It was nice to hear that they won't be using Washington as the main drag, and we certainly understand that school buses that we get. I think what spooked me was the tour bus situation. So I'm hoping that that applies for all the buses and very little extra use on Washington. That makes it much better. And to the applicant, I know that this really isn't your issue, but that corner has become a haven for the homeless in your planter beds and such, and that's a sensitive issue. We get that.
If I may respond to that real quick?
Well, and I had one other little teeny one. And my pet peeve is the illegal fruit vendor sets up on your corner. So, you know, if you can get any sort of a handle on that, French Park will be delighted. Oh, totally delighted.
Well, if I may respond to that, we agree with her
Thank you.
100%. And I think, we called the PD out there probably 30 times in the last year to the point that they're tired of listening to us. And we,
Mr. Chair.
We don't want to have an external discussion, so, okay. So if you guys want to speak, that's great. So any other people have filled out a card that would like to speak on this topic? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to bring it back to the commission for a motion and or discussion, or both. Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to start by saying I appreciate what's being brought to us in regards to the Washington site. I really appreciate the improvements. I appreciate everything that you guys are going to do to really enhance that site. But without any sort of assurances that the blue site will not continue to have certain operations and certain hours, I can't support the application. I look to staff and I say, if you can come back, work with the applicant and bring something back that we can legally approve, something that would work to that effect, modifying the application, whatever the course is that you guys choose to take. But right now, there have been no set assurances. Even from Ms. McEwen's claim about buses coming down Washington, there's nothing here that says that. I have nothing here. If I was to vote on the conditions of approval in front of me, there's nothing that guarantees that. To everything that Logan has expressed, there are nothing in these conditions that guarantee that Custer will not have those sorts of things. And we can talk about operational plans, but operational plans are for the Washington site, not the Custer site. And so unless there's a legal way to enshrine that the Custer site will not operate in that way, then I don't see a way I can support this project with the conditions as stated.
Commissioner Alderete, do you have anything you want to?
Not yet.
Not yet. Commissioner Bauer.
Well, I mean, I think we're all sort of of the same mind. How do we enforce the right side to the left side, the blue to the yellow? And I think there is a way out. If they submit an operation plan for the yellow lot, you can't tie up the blue lot with the yellow lot. I mean, you can't do it legally. You can't, it runs with the land, you can't do that. So, I mean, the only way it sounds, there was a solution, it's an operations plan, but we don't have that in front of us. And so until we have that operations plan, I don't particularly feel comfortable. I mean, it sounds like we have the outlines of one, but, the devil's in the details.
Well, Commissioner Bauer, if I may, that's the thing. We can't, from what I'm hearing here tonight, we can't give direction on the blue line.
Yes, we can. We can condition, we can approve this and say there has to be an operations agreement on the yellow lot with those, the business would operate from these hours, all the maintenance would be on the yellow lot, save light maintenance, and you can condition it that way.
But you're right, it would be on the yellow lot, but it would not prohibit the blue lot from any sort of other maintenance or hours of operation, which legally by right, yes, as of today, the Blue Lot can continue to operate the way it does. But what Logan is concerned with, what they've expressed today was that, and in fact, this is the way I understood the last hearing, was that if we approve the yellow lot for what they're proposing, you would see operations or other activities head over to the blue lot. As far as an operational plan, I agree. If that was the instrument of choice that can somehow enshrine that, I still wouldn't feel comfortable unless it came back before us. But just to kind of say, well, here's some general ideas, because what also bothered me tonight was that, again, I read the staff report. I came into this hearing thinking, great, staff had worked with the community and we've got some things lined up. And then it sounded like, well, we're going to do our best to meet those standards. And Logan, I agree. I mean, I've seen this not just in Logan, but other places where someone says they're gonna, gosh darn it, they're gonna try, and it doesn't happen. And if there's no teeth and something to enforce that, how do you come back later and say, oh, well, we really didn't want you to do that? That's not acceptable.
Well, if they do say on the operations plan, for example, on the yellow lot, they say all maintenance is gonna be done on the yellow lot. If there's maintenance done on the blue lot, then you can, that's like a CUP on the other lot.
No, it's
Basically
not.
you call code enforcement.
No, it's
They're
not.
doing, yes, it is.
No,
They're
it's not.
violating the terms of their business operations agreement with the city.
Wait, staff, if I may. Well, it hasn't come before us yet, but staff, if I might ask, so is there a legally enforceable? So if they have an operational plan, that operational plan that's for the yellow lot, we're now saying we can enforce actions on the blue lot?
It's not.
Wait, did
it's
you
not-
say no?
You're not enforcing it against the blue lot, you're enforcing it against the operator.
Operator of the
They own both
business.
lots.
If they say, yes.
But if they do something on the blue lot, they're legally non-conforming. They're allowed to do actions on that blue lot. You can't limit their ability to use the blue lot, can you?
We can, if their contractual obligation says, we will do all of our heavy maintenance on the yellow lot and no maintenance on the blue lot, that's the contractual obligation that they've made with the city.
And that would be great if that was enforceable, but I don't get the impression that it could that there's something that could enforce no maintenance or whatever it was that they agreed with Logan on the blue lot. Yeah, I understand the maintenance, the operations plan. I understand that on the yellow lot, you would only be able to do certain things, and as the company, you're agreeing not to do it over here. But there's nothing that prohibits them from doing anything on that blue lot. If one of the workers decides to start doing, what someone mentioned, a pump or something, there's nothing that prohibits them from doing that legally, because they have a legally non-conforming lot.
Unless we require, as a condition of this.
A condition?
As a condition of this particular conditional use permit, that they submit an operational plan. That operational plan will define their operations in the area.
In the area. So now we're saying that even though the application was for the yellow lot, now we're going to broaden it to the area.
But their operations on all properties in the area, their operational plan has to address that, and it has to be updated annually, and it has to be reviewed by staff and approved, and it's a continuing operational plan, and that we can do. It doesn't run with the land. It's not something that's required to that violates it doesn't create a conditional use permit on that. It does on the other site. Yes, if they wanted to sell that site to another bus operator, and that bus operator could use that legally established non-conforming use in the way that they wanted to do it. But as long as they're both owned by one owner, yellow and blue, their operation is described as how they are going to do it, and that is a binding document. It doesn't land in perpetuity, doesn't run in perpetuity, but that's how it works.
If that instrument would suffice, if that would actually achieve keeping the operations on the blue lot to a point that where it didn't impact Logan to the way that they're concerned, I can support that. But I would, as Commissioner Alderete said, I'd love to see it come back before the commission so that we can actually review it and have input from the community on it.
Well, that would require another continuance. Is there a way to do this without a continuance, for example?
Unless someone can draft an operational agreement in a couple of minutes, I think it probably makes a lot of sense to do it the right way and bring it back. I don't think that to take a little time to address everybody's concerns, this business is going to be operating way down the road, hopefully, and it'll be successful. So to bring it back to us for everybody to have input, I don't think is the worst thing. I'm just one member here, but I don't think it's the worst thing.
Commissioner Alderete.
I'm not going to repeat a lot of what Commissioner Becerra said, because I agree with the final conclusion that he reached. I want to see the agreement. I don't trust anybody else to read it for me and interpret it for me. So I'd like a continuance, and then I'll review it when we have it in 2 weeks. It shouldn't be a difficult agreement to draft, but it would be an agreement that we couldn't draft on the fly.
Can I have a copy?
Sure. If it comes about that we actually have an agreement?
Okay, she has my name on it.
Okay.
And my phone number. But I have no copy of it, I have no cell phone.
Got it. Thank you.
If I may, Commissioners, the applicant has agreed to a operational plan. If you would like to provide staff to direct everything that says relates to the blue on that overlay, with the exception of no repairs except light maintenance, with you defining light maintenance tonight, they would agree to an operational plan in that magnitude.
What is light
Covering
maintenance? Would that be spelled out in the operational agreement?
That is what you,
Like
that we would
windows.
like
Asking us to
direction
do that
from
now.
you tonight on that.
I think, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Becerra, you want to do it right, but it doesn't seem like, we've got a kind of a good project here, and it's not like it's a bad project, it's a great improvement for that corner. It's just a matter of a few bugs in that operation that is a thorn. I just, you know.
Mr. Chair, I think
understand.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think, but the concern that I've been expressing is not so much the operation of the Washington site, it's only in relation to how it would impact the Custer site and how it would impact Logan. I don't think any of us up here is saying, we don't like the design, we don't like the landscape, we don't like any of that. The concern has really been just simply, this one company owns both sites.
Right.
If for some reason the operations of one shifts over to the other. Again, I applaud the applicant for coming in and proposing this improvement, and I have
Well,
nothing
that's
against
why I
what they're
think
operating.
we should let them build it. And
Nobody's
not
saying that, but
drag our
again,
feet.
I'm not just gonna approve something and then have later on Logan be severely impacted. That's just from my own standpoint.
But I think the concern is the terminology of the operation, and all I was saying is if we could, they seem to be willing to modify that accordingly, those bullet points up there, 1 through 5. I don't think a full-blown drafted operational plan, how would one enforce this? How would we really be realistic about it, enforcing this? I mean, that's all I'm just
Wait,
saying.
are
I
you
mean-
saying that we would not be able to enforce it?
No, but I just don't, let's say I chose to park RVs on my property on Broadway, and until someone calls code enforcement, those RVs are gonna be, heck, I could be renting out a campground out there for 6 months, you know? So I'm just trying to get it's realistic to expect that they're gonna change some windows and change a tire at the blue lot. It's real, and if we can make that to where it's in writing that there's very light repairs, that would seem like a
But that's
good
a key thing.
compromise.
I'm not saying we absolutely go with this or something. All I'm saying is it should be clear in black and white. That's been my premise from the beginning, is something in black and white. I've been told that we can't condition the other site. Fair enough, then what instrument? And I've asked that many times. What is that instrument to ensure that there are set rules in place? Because the first thing I saw tonight was, we're gonna agree to certain hours, or I'm sorry, to no maintenance per that diagram up there.
I
Then we
agree
heard
with
the
you.
applicant
That's-
say,
that's what's
well,
written.
actually, there's some light maintenance. So there's some discrepancy there. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to eliminate that discrepancy. That's all I'm asking.
Commissioner Alderete.
Just quickly,
Okay.
I share that concern when I've heard members of Logan come up and speak and what they thought the agreement was and what the agreement is, they're passing boats in the night. And so the impetus for me wanting to see the agreement is to make sure it's properly documented. That's it. And I think
see nods over there.
continuance in that regard would be fine.
Well, can
go
I
ahead.
have can I make a suggestion,
Sure.
please? The applicant is willing to discuss with staff something that we think we understand what your concerns are. And if you would take a recess on this item and continue on with your agenda, staff could work with the applicant right now and perhaps complete this item at this agenda. We could bring it back at the end of the agenda. Well, right after the next item then, if that is your direction.
Well, I mean, depending on what my colleagues say, I'd be open to making a motion to go ahead and continue this item for however many minutes.
I don't even think we have to make a
Until
motion
the
to
next,
continue.
Make motion, you just need to take it.
You just
We just take a recess.
Put it in
If you just
recess
take
from the item and go to the
a
next.
recess
So
It's on
motion
the
to recess
agenda.
it.
It's just on the agenda. We'll take a recess on the item.
On the item.
on
For an
this
hour.
particular item. We'll go on to the next item. We'll
I think
do our
that's excellent.
negotiations during the
Does that
next
sound good?
item, and
But I have
then come
Commissioner
back.
McLaughlin wants to say something, and before we make any kind of finalization on the recess, I want to make sure everyone had a chance to speak.
I just want, you brought up something, Kendi, about us earlier, and the fact is that if we're gonna put an operational agreement together, it should also be, there should be a contingency in there on ownership, okay? Because what I can do is I can take and split up my ownership. It can be in an LLC, and I have a shell up above that could sit there and be certified, but I could have two different owners. You brought up the point, the new owner doesn't get into this operational agreement. So I think what we have to do is we have to make sure that the agreement is also bound by ownership. Okay? That's my, is that okay with you guys?
I'm not a
I mean, basically, you're asking for a non-transferability provision.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah, fancy words, basically, you know what, you gotta own it, right? No, I get it, I mean, I was thinking of that, but then I thought that would be pretty crafty,
But it,
crafty guy.
but their attorney will tell them that.
I appreciate staff's willingness to
Within
try to
19
nip this in
years
the
of
bud.
it,
So yeah, if you would, if everybody agrees, let's do it.
So we're going to recess that item for half an hour or so, something like that? 20
No,
minutes?
just till we address the next item
Okay,
on the
so-
agenda.
So one item's worth.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
we'll come back to you on that. So can we go to item number 2
Do
now?
item number 2.
All right.
Approved. Thank you. Item number 3.
Good evening, Chairman Gartner, members of the commission. Up for review is conditional use permit number 2016-19 for Brasa Rotisserie located at 3940 South Bristol Street, Unit 111. Brasa Rotisserie is a new fast casual restaurant that is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the on-premise consumption of beer and wine, which is a type 41 license to patrons of the restaurant. The restaurant will be located in a multi-tenant commercial center located on the northwest corner of Sunflower Avenue and Bristol Street. It is surrounded on all 4 locations by commercial and office land uses. Here is a site plan for the project. The restaurant will occupy the ground floor of a 2-story commercial building on the southeast corner of the shopping center. The restaurant will be occupying a 1,917 square foot space that will have the seating capacity for 40 patrons. There are, as seen on the floor plan highlighted in yellow, there are 2 areas for display and storage of alcoholic beverages that will be less than 5% of the restaurant floor area. Here we have a site photo showing the tenant space, which is located on the ground floor of the building. The restaurant is located in a commercial area, and its operations will be compatible with the surrounding commercial businesses, which include retail, service uses, and restaurants. The applicant has been operating another restaurant with an ABC license in the adjacent building, and there has been no history of complaints regarding this location. During the public comment period, staff has received no comment regarding this project and finds that the operational standards will be sufficient in ensuring that the establishment will maintain a safe and attractive environment in the neighborhood. Based on the project analysis, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve conditional use permit 2016-19. And this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here to answer questions as well.
Do we have any questions for staff right now? Hang on. Any questions for staff from the planning commissioners? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have two speaker cards. I'd like to let the applicant go last, if that's okay. Just have, looks like Linda Keston.
Yes.
You want to come up and speak or on this item?
Yes, my name is Linda Lou Keston. I bought my house in 1973 at 1418 South Pacific, which is close to Mater Dei, which is on Bristol and Edinger. Speaking of buses, we already have buses taking a vacation in the lot where they finally put in a supermarket. But alcohol, no way. That's on the border to Bristol and Sunflower. That's the border across the street of Sunflower is Costa Mesa. And we had a big problem because we were going to put a bus line down Bristol that would go to John Wayne Airport. Guess what? We have all the nice spaces made. Mater Dei has fantastic parking. They do. It's great for them. But that was supposed to be parking to put your car in to go down to the airport. This mess, it's a mess. You have First Street, which is a big problem. When I first moved in, First Street was what you call the gentrified, or where you were letting everything go to HELL. Okay, now it's moved down to MacArthur, which is not that far from me, where everything is going to HELL and no police can control it. We have gang riding all over on the curbs. We have motorhomes parked on Brochard at the end of the stop sign, which a lot of people don't stop for. They go right around the corner. And of course, you all know that this depression means that on South Pacific Avenue, where I live, how many people do you have in each bedroom living? I would say at least 5 people per bedroom. And if they won't go and get a commission, or what do you call it, a permit, They changed the house without the permit, and then they try to sell it. Well, they can't. And that's what's happening. You're slow, and pretty soon it'll be Warner. Oh my goodness, Warner. And that'll be the mess, the next mess. Pretty soon Santa Ana will be pushed out of existence.
Ma'am, we have to limit to 3 minutes. So-
Well, I say no.
Okay.
Keep the alcohol away. Those people make a fortune on alcohol. Don't let food disguise anything. And we have enough alcohol to last forever, as it sounds like in Texas, where all those policemen got shot, probably because everybody was drunk and nobody could see what they were doing. So think about it, alcohol. And I don't want my house, to stay, because I'm not going anyplace.
Thank you. Would the Stephen Hall, the applicant, like to speak? It's a tough act to follow. No?
Just, you know, what Jessica said, we're just a fast casual operation. The beer and wine is just an adjunct to what we're serving there, which is a unique rotisserie chicken.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
So we're really only going to have very limited, really, alcohol. We're planning on having a couple of taps, like wine, red and white, and then a few taps of beer. We're not going to have bottled beer. We're not going to have bottled wine. It's a pretty small place, only 40 people that you can see inside. And, you know, I think primarily we're going to have more of a lunch business than we are going to have dinner business. I mean, we'll have both, of course, but people are going to sit there and drink for hours and get intoxicated.
Oh, yeah, they do that all the time.
Plus, I'll have our landlord has now an additional security guard employed just recently. So we'll have a little bit more control there. So, and like I said, we have another restaurant in the same plaza, and we haven't had a problem for 3 years there.
Okay. Any questions to the applicant? Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak that has not filled out a card? Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission for a discussion and or a motion or both. Commissioner Alderetti.
I'll make a motion, but before I do, I just wanted to say that area, I think Euro Cafe is in that same development. There's Ritter's, which is a block up. There's Cauldron Ice Cream. I mean, it's really turning into a pretty interesting destination for food, and I think this will be a great addition. So I'll move to adopt a resolution approving CUP number 2016-19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Verino absent. We ready to go back to item 1? Not yet?
Okay.
Keep going. Let's go with item number 3.
Good evening, Chairman Gardner, members of the Planning Commission. Here we have a conditional use permit number 2016-24. The project site is at 3751 South Harbor Boulevard, Unit F, and it's for Clever Leaf Restaurant. Clever Leaf is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the on-premise consumption of beer and wine, which is a Type 41 license, to patrons of the restaurant. The business is a new full-service restaurant specializing in modernized Hong Kong-style barbecue and cuisine, and it's actually the first restaurant for applicant Daryl Kwok and his mother, Winnie. And so here we have the site. The project is located at the northeast corner of Harbor Boulevard and Sunflower Avenue along the Costa Mesa border. It's in the light industrial M1 zoning district, and it's surrounded by commercial, industrial, and educational land uses, educational being Whittier Law School and Costa Mesa. Here we have the site plan. Here, you see that the site is highlighted in yellow. It shows that 2 units will be combined to form the new restaurant space, which will be 2,779 square feet. And there are 3 buildings on the property, which is 3.39 acres in size and has 205 parking spaces. And the new restaurant space will be in that middle building at 3751. Here we have the floor plan. It shows that the alcohol storage and display will be less than 5% of the total floor area, and the seating capacity of this restaurant will be 72 persons. Here we have a site photo of the project site. Project analysis. The project will provide additional dining amenities to residents and visitors, and the granting of this conditional use permit for this space will allow the restaurant to serve complimentary alcoholic beverages to their seasonal menu offerings and provide their guests with a full culinary experience. And standards will ensure that the facility will remain an eating establishment and maintain a safe and attractive environment in the neighborhood. And during the public comments period, staff received no comments regarding this project. Staff recommends that that Planning Commission approve conditional use permit number 2016-24, and I'd be happy to answer any follow-up questions, and the applicant is here as well to answer any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra.
I'm just curious, what kind of ABC licenses? I was looking through the staff report and I didn't see it anywhere. I'd asked.
41.
Type 41, sorry.
41?
It's for
Okay.
beer and wine.
Thank you.
Is on that little.
But under whose name is it?
Any other commissioner questions for staff? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Has anybody in the audience filled out a yellow card to speak on this particular item?
Well,
Or do you wish to speak on this, ma'am?
yes, I do.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. If it's the same, you want we could just.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I have 16 years of formal education. I speak more than 4 languages. And I was an educator in LAUSD, the 2nd largest school district in the United States. Who can tell me what is the first?
New York.
Ah, qué bueno, usted sabe algo. I have educators that can't even answer that question. All right, we're down to alcohol beverages, where they make all the money, and they turn everything. Now, I ask in this part, you have to have a liquor license. Okay, you have to be awarded a liquor license. Now, whose name is the liquor license under? Or are they borrowing it from God? Can you answer me that? Anybody? Anybody?
A liquor license is granted to the applicant.
Oh,
in the state of California.
Darryl,
or Orange
Darryl
County.
Kawak? Is that the applicant? Okay, so you have the liquor license in your hot little hand. Who are you? I can't see. My goodness. Didn't I see you up here before?
Not sure how you get here.
You don't look like a Kiwak. Yeah, you're
Ma'am,
not a Kiwak.
ma'am, if you have anything to add on this particular subject different than what you added before.
Well, I would like somebody to point out who, because I don't have 20/20 vision either, in addition to being other handicapped. I have 4.5 feet of scars on my body, and I won't tell you how much bones I have broken, but it's lucky I can walk. I'm a miracle. Now, who said Darryl Kawak?
Mr. Chair, the audience needs to direct their questions to you
Yeah.
and the Planning Commission,
Okay.
not to the audience.
Who
Ma'am?
said yeah, who
Ma'am,
answered that
we're
question?
not interviewing the audience. If you have a question, if you have a statement on this project, we'd like to hear it. You've said it, and there's really not much more to add. Talking to the audience isn't what the
Well,
speakers
I heard
want.
somebody say something from behind me.
He's not speaking yet. You are. So if you have something to add on the
Okay, now, which one of you is
project.
the lawyer over here? That's right, okay, and the other one was the city manager that used to sit there. Okay, but you are the lawyer for Santa Ana, so you will have this information, right? About who owns the liquor license?
Ma'am, the 3 minutes is up. We're going to bring up the next speaker.
Oh, well, that's good, I take notes like anybody else.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this subject?
There's nobody here. Oh. Say your name slowly so I can write.
Ma'am? You've had your chance to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul
What is your name, sir?
Paul Roberts, I'm here representing Mr. Darrell Kwok, who is sitting right back there. I'm happy to discuss any of your concerns with him. I think the staff did a...
Are you a lawyer, Paul Roberts?
Ma'am?
Could you say what your full title is?
Ma'am, I'm a restaurant consultant. I've worked for 20 years. I've built 30 or 40 restaurants in Southern California, many of which have won awards.
Well, guess what? I worked for 34
Ma'am?
years in the second largest in the United States.
Ma'am, you've had your chance to speak.
Was an administrator when I retired. He needs to say what he is.
He has.
He can't, oh, call the police. Please, I'm surprised they weren't here tonight. Because usually when I come here, the police are here. Well, so Paul,
Ma'am, you only speak when the chair calls you up to the podium, not before and after, please.
no, thank you. So you are a consultant. Oh,
Ma'am?
fine award.
You really have to take your turn. It's not right. So if you can't listen, then you have to leave. Sorry.
I don't know what the concerns are. I think staff explained everything quite clearly. Upscale concept. Darrell served as a apprentice chef in Hong Kong for over a year. His vision is to bring an authentic upscale Hong Kong restaurant, the type of which I haven't seen in this whole area ever. This isn't just a typical little Chinese restaurant. And obviously he wants to locally source the goods and do something as authentic as he saw in the upscale restaurants that he serves as a chef on. This is his first business. That's why I was brought in as a consultant to help him realize this vision, and happy to answer any questions that you might have. It's an outstanding concept and outstanding addition to the neighborhood. And like the last gentleman said, alcohol is just incidental. It's an unfortunate part that you need to have to make a successful business these days. So happy to answer any questions. If you
Any
have.
questions to the applicant from the commissioners?
The only question I have, thank you, Mr. Chair, you guys are going to be right next to, I think it's 8 Steers, correct?
Yeah.
It did close down?
I'll let Darrell, which I think changed hands. Yeah, come on up.
She's how often I've been over.
8 Steers is out of business.
Okay.
Changed to public stake, and the chef left there, so they're called the Scotchery.
They're called the what?
The Scotchery.
Oh, okay, and you guys will be right next door then?
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch of restaurants in there. And again, it's
Oh, yeah, you have the Art Institute, there's a bunch of stuff right there, yeah. I was just curious as to like, kind of just relating where you're at.
Picturing it,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, so we're just right on the corner, right at the end.
Okay.
Commissioner McLaughlin?
So you're in the old Tommy Pastrami's, is that?
Yes, that's still there. So
That's still there. So you're
Tommy's is on the other side.
Tommy's will be on the other side. Yeah.
Right, you're on the
So
other
we're
side,
on-
okay.
We're on the opposite end.
Okay.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's.
I encourage you all to come and try it. It's a really interesting concept.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 2016-24.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Reno absent. Okay, item number 4. Let's go on to item number 4. Vince.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. Give me 1 second here while we boot up this. There we go. Thank you. This item here before you is a request by 24 Hour Fitness to operate a new health club within the city, within the central part of the city. It's variant 16-5 and it's located at 1400 West Edinger Avenue. Little background on the project first here. They're looking to operate to 24 Hour Fitness as a full-service health club, gymnasium, have all the amenities and all the typical items you'll see in a full health club. So gymnasium, of course, you got workouts, you got weights, you got cardio rooms, you have a pool, you have a basketball court, amongst many other items here. They're going to be doing a series of site and building improvements to the project there as part of the project. And this application here requires a variance because the parking requirements for a gymnasium is, it's pretty high. I'll do that in a few moments. Brief site description here for you. Commercial, general plan and zoning designation, and it's surrounded by a variety of uses, mostly commercial, educational, religious, and some residential on all 4 sides. And again, it's located just at the southwest corner of Bristol and Edinger Avenue. You saw this site here maybe a year or so ago. Smart and Final came in and got a CEP for alcohol sales at this location. Here's a site plan there in red. You can see where the 24 Hour Fitness is going to be. Built back in 1973. It was a former Kmart building. It was there for many years, turned over to a Vicks outlet, and it's been vacant for several years. So this is a prime opportunity to re-tenant a pretty key location here in the city. And you can see here it's about 130,000 square foot shopping center, has over 500 parking spaces currently. Here's a floor plan of the gymnasium of the health club, what they're looking to build at this location. Here's some photos of the site. Again, as I mentioned, built in 1973. Upper left-hand corner, you see the older type of architecture that's had its day. It's now moved on, and you can see there on the bottom right, you can see the O'Reilly Auto Parts was built about 4 years ago, and then Smart and Final did a remodel as well. So as projects come in through discretionary applications, we've been able to bring these sites into compliance with our zoning code as well as do some architectural upgrades to the center to really bring it up to more of a current look. A little bit of analysis on the project here. These improvements, which include a parking lot, they're going to repair, repave, and restripe the parking lot. They're going to be able to add about 50 parking spaces because the site has older stalls that were much larger than what we require now. They're going to turn around. They're going to remove the recycling facility that's located on the property right now. They're going to put in some landscaping. They're going to remodel the building, put in trash enclosures. So all these different type of improvements are bringing the site into closer compliance. They're adding a key fitness amenity to the central part of the city of Santa Ana. And then this parking analysis they've done here, they're requesting. Currently our parking requirements 1 per 28 for a gymnasium. We're looking to do about 1 per 180, which is very consistent with what we've done with several other gymnasiums. Most of you can recall about 2 years ago we did a 24 Hour Fitness up at the mall. You've seen Planet Fitness on 2 occasions up in north part of town as well as down off of East Edinger Avenue. We did Bally several years ago, LA Fitness. So all these different ones are been approved by this body, and this project is consistent with the parking requirement for those as well. We've had several studies that basically say that our parking code is really too excessive. And with that, I'm here before you to request that you approve the variance as conditioned. That concludes my presentation. The applicants here, as well as the traffic consultant, if you have any questions on myself or of the development team. Thank you.
Questions for Vince? Commissioner
Just one quick
McLaughlin.
one. I mean, in talking about what we had a discussion earlier in our meeting about zoning on this, the new proposal for a gym was about 180, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So this is still over that number?
This is exactly what that is.
180.
5.5, yes. But the time it takes to get that code changed through the system.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
It's consistent with what we're proposing to be, yes.
Okay, as long as it's consistent, that's all.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Is the applicant available to speak on this? Anything to add? No? Okay. Any other, I'm not going to call you up here. You already abused your privileges.
Oh, I'll put that down.
Go ahead. Go ahead. So I'll bring it back to the commission. I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the Planning Commission for discussion and or motion.
Mr. Chair, I think it's great that,
And what is your name that said that those words came, abuse privileges? I can't see your name.
Excuse me, we've closed the public hearing. I'll give it to you later.
It's not a closed public hearing. I was invited.
It is now.
Or I wouldn't be here. Okay, so who are you? We have Mark.
I'm the tooth fairy.
We have Lynette, there.
Commissioner Becerra.
it's Gartner with a G.
Yeah.
Okay, Ward 5, James Gardner.
Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Chairman Gartner.
G-A-R-T-N-E-R.
Thank you, Mr. Jim Gartner. I would,
Now we're gonna make fun of me, is that right?
We're making fun of me. They're making fun of me.
Let's just,
Oh, well, you just have.
Ma'am, you really have to relax.
Well, don't invite me to any more meetings.
I don't recall inviting you, but you're welcome to come.
Oh, my goodness, then how did I get here?
So, Mr. Chair, as I was saying, I'd like to go ahead. First of all, I appreciate that 24-hour fitness is coming into the central part of the city. I think it's just a logical place. You're right across from our day. I think a lot of folks in that area, as obviously you guys know, your industry is growing. So I appreciate you coming into that center, and I'm really pleased with all the work they're doing. With that, I'd like to make the motion to adopt a resolution approving variance number 2016-05 as conditioned.
Do we have a second? A second from Commissioner McLaughlin. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Verino absent. Are we ready to bring back item 1 yet? Or are we still in recess?
I believe we are at this point.
Good evening once again, Chairman Gardner.
evening.
I was successful in speaking with the applicant here, Certified Transportation and their representatives to come up with a modified operational plan that I'd like to read into the record to be added to the conditions of approval on the Washington Street project. The operational plan, yes.
Could we get the, I like seeing the overhead of the blue and the yellow box.
protocol is just ignored, seriously, I mean, because it's just ignored. I mean, you're only gonna provoke it by saying anything else. That's the problem.
Mr. Carvalho, before you go, so what I asked staff to discuss with the applicant the outstanding issues seemed to be what constitutes light maintenance. And I asked Mr. Carvajal to speak with the applicant to list out the activities that they consider light maintenance and describe the hours at which this would be done. That is really the focus of this conversation.
All right, I'll go ahead and read this slowly so we can all hear it. Feel free to interject if you have any questions or don't understand what I'm reading here. So there are 2 items in this following operational plan. The first item reads as follows. The applicant has read and agreed to these 2 operational plan items. Number 1, hours of light maintenance shall be from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Light maintenance shall consist of bus servicing and minor repair of buses, including replacement of belts, hoses, batteries, tires, shock absorbers, oil and air filters, chassis lubrication, air conditioning servicing, replacement of brake pads, seat repairs, wiper blade repairs, electrical repairs, and washing, period.
And the main focus of these light repairs was on activities that do not encourage or require the engine to be running. Because the main source of complaint was noise and vibration, and all of these activities can be done reasonably without causing that kind of disturbance.
So if I may ask, so what you've outlined here would be applicable to, as we're calling it, the blue site, the Custer site?
This operational plan will pertain to the yellow site. Correct. And talk about operational plans pertaining to the blue site, correct?
Okay, so this will pertain, this will impact the blue site, like it will actually, so if I'm driving through the neighborhood, Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., what you read would be the only things that happen during that time frame. So
This is what the applicant has agreed to, yes.
for the Custer site.
Correct.
Okay.
Question, just because I'm trying to be, so the hours of operation on the Custer site are 6 to 8?
That is correct.
Okay, that's, yeah, all right.
So again, just super simple, clear, what you read will apply to the Custer site.
The operational plan will make a reference to certified transportation as a business entity, which is proposing to do a truck terminal at this location and an off-site yard, which is allowed to do everything as listed in this operational plan.
So I'll ask one more time. So what you read applies to the Custer site.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
May I proceed to number 2? All right. Number 2, per M1 Light Industrial District operational standards in the City of Santa Ana Municipal Code, any activity permitted in this district shall be conducted in such a manner as to not have a detrimental effect on permitted adjacent uses by reason of refuse matter, noise, light, vibration, or lack of proper maintenance of grounds or buildings. That pertains to both properties.
Okay.
That is all.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may ask,
yes.
if the folks from Logan would like to speak on the item, could we invite them up?
You know, we put this in a recess, so can we reopen the public portion of the? Yes, okay. Yeah, I'd like to reopen the public portion if there's anyone who'd like to speak. All right. Want to flip a coin?
Okay, if that's light maintenance, explain to me what maintenance on a car is then. If you take it in there and have, wouldn't that be all the same thing as a regular maintenance?
Not really, I mean,
Not
like
really?
changing out a
What do you
radio
call-
would be light maintenance.
Well,
then everything's light maintenance then.
No, but they've
Overhauling
listed-
an engine wouldn't be.
They've listed specific activities, which was my concern earlier. What I was trying to address is that it sounds like what staff and the applicant have been able to come up with is if they're doing something beyond the listed items, that would be that point where you would say, hey, code enforcement, they're not doing what they agreed to do.
Yeah, they're changing oil, they're doing all this other stuff there. They've already done that. Now, they're doing all that now
No, but-
without working. I mean, I thought that was illegal, and they've been working that illegally there. Any maintenance on a bus or a truck has to be under cover, under some kind of cover, under a building or whatever. They haven't been doing that, and they're still going to continue to do the same thing.
Well, but
So I
think
don't
now-
understand that part.
But I'm saying, but now I think based on what's transpired, now, before the recess, we didn't really have anything. Now we have a specific list of items that are permitted. And so that's where I was hoping you would share with us if those items, as long as they're conducted between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, would that be okay? Or at least from your standpoint. But again, I think that at least for all of us involved here, from the commission, staff, and the neighborhood, at least now we're all playing by the same rules. We all know it's 60 feet to the pitching mound. We're not going to say, is it 50, is it 40? We know what those rules are here.
But we were talking, what we started talking about was that they were going to do all maintenance on the yellow section, not on the blue, because that's what they do now anyway.
Okay.
So why, I mean, all we're doing is washing it all together again. It's not even making any sense. I can understand you say, okay, change a glass window or change a light bulb
But
or whatever, but like I said,
Excuse me.
they keep going and going and going, and pretty
Mr.
soon they're going
Rodriguez,
to be
give us
taking the bus apart.
One second,
there.
one second.
The whole idea is that the number of activities that they do on site on a day-to-day operation of a business such as like this would be minimized to those operations that would not cause vibration and noise. And keep in mind, and one of the reasons that the whole operation can do this is that if you will need to move one car from one site to another site so that this kind of maintenance can happen, that'll cause vibration and noise. As long as the activities are limited to these activities and they're limited on site in those hours, they will not cause vibration and noise. That is really the whole point.
Okay, then so I can go down there and push it across the street.
I'm sorry, may I finish the answer to that question? So in order to condition a business so that they can do the day-to-day operations of a business and still have a successful business, we need to allow them to do certain types of activities.
Right,
This
agreed.
is the number of activities that we could limit them to without pushing them to a place where they have to actually take extra burden to take the buses elsewhere to get that kind of activity, therefore make the business unviable.
Well, and if I just may add, that the thing I like about what's being proposed to us is that we have set hours and we have set tasks that they're agreeing to do. So, I mean, it's something that after staff, drafts the official language, they can hand it to you and you can say, look, okay, this site, they better be operating between only 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. and these are the only following things that they can do. Before, it was a little more ambiguous and, you're saying that they were just doing it all hours, what you were claiming that was happening. This sets some basic game rules for that.
That's fine. You're telling me between 6 and 8.
Right.
But what happened to the illegal things that they do there now? They're going to continue to do them there now.
What?
It doesn't matter whether it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, or whatever time you guys want. We're not discussing the time. We're discussing what they're doing.
But we got to remember, we got to still focus on this
doing.
project.
We don't
Okay.
want them to keep doing, they said, now they're opening up another whole thing, then they're gonna say, okay, we can put 20 buses here and 30 buses there.
No,
And we can work on 29 here, and we can work on 4 over there.
I think what this does, though, is, again, you're right.
Right?
Whatever was happening in the past, happened. I mean, there's nothing we can do to change
Right,
that.
that's fine,
But going
but-
forward, we have now rules that we will hopefully adopt that will limit that site.
So, okay, so where is the building going to be if they have to work, if maintenance should be in a building?
I'm not
Okay.
sure, is that a requirement, maintenance being a building? It's not a
That
requirement.
is not a requirement.
The
the
maintenance
idea,
can be
though-
done out in the open?
As Hassan pointed out, though, the activities that were outlined would prohibit, it was vibration, noise, and...
Okay, I understand all that, but they're still working on a vehicle that is not legally being worked on.
No, but
We
that's
can't
what-
do maintenance on anything, right?
I think we're saying different things.
If I might be able to interject. So, to clarify, there's a few things that are correct and incorrect. First of all, per today's code, all auto servicing in the light industrial zone is to occur indoors.
Right.
Period. However, this specific property was approved in 1998 and retains kind of a grandfathered legal nonconforming use. So to the extent that they continue to operate, and it's the same operator, they can continue to do so. There aren't any limitations on hours. There aren't limitations on where the servicing can occur. They are subject, however, to our noise ordinance and to our operational standards in our light industrial zone.
Well, but I thought you'd mentioned in here that there would be operation hours from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
There are currently no limitations on the blue lot
Oh,
for
correct.
hours of operation.
Currently,
Today.
but this,
We are
this would
propo-
impose it.
The applicant has actually gone above and beyond and started to give us some hours which they would propose to operate as part of their operational plan.
Okay,
To try to lessen these.
So basically, they could operate beyond these hours that are being proposed today, but now the applicant is working with staff to agree to set hours, whereas before your concern was they're just operating, and as you're saying is, they were allowed to, under being grandfathered in under previous standards.
Correct. Businesses can choose to operate within any established hours as permitted by the code.
Right.
To the extent that they wish to lessen those hours or further reduce them, they have every right to do so, and that's what they're wanting.
I appreciate the applicant working with staff to do that. So I think that's what's happening here is you're seeing basically them giving up the ability.
They're giving up their time,
Right.
right. That's what we said. We understand about the time, but that's not what we're worried about. We're worried about them working and still doing the maintenance in that section when they're going to have a brand-new place that they're going to use They're building a building to do their maintenance. So why are they still going to do maintenance on this side and that side?
If I
Please.
As I explained, the reason is that the business wants to consolidate both operations into one operation. And if we limit that kind of maintenance in one site and not allow it on the other site, what will happen is that every time, in order to comply with that ordinance, every time they want to maintain a bus, they'll have to turn on that bus, drive it to the other site, and then do the maintenance and then drive it back. That adds to noise and vibration and unnecessary hauling the buses back and forth between two sites, and does not allow them to maintain their buses on both sides so that they will minimize noise and vibration.
Right.
That's really the reason.
The other thing, I have a question for Commissioner Becerra. Are we getting a little closer on kind of what you're driving at as far as
As I mentioned previously numerous times, I just wanted something that we could say, hey, are they operating in a certain manner? And the purpose of asking the folks from Logan is just to say,
okay,
was this within the confines of what you were thinking?
Commissioner McLaughlin, you had a question, I believe, for
Actually,
the speaker?
Actually, it was answered by virtue of the use.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So I think is there another guest speaker in your group that wants to add something to this? 3 minutes, please.
Oh, it'll be quick.
Or less.
It'll be quick.
All right.
One is we do care about the time. We don't want it at midnight or whatever going on.
Right.
My concern is the list. I like the list. Maybe there's a few too many things on that list, though.
We're splitting hairs.
Now, if you change, well, I'm just thinking, if you change whatever those things are, the hose, don't you have to turn it on then to see if it works?
You're going to have to drive the bus even if you moved it. I mean, there's a point where really logically what he's proposing is not moving a bus for a doorknob or something
Yeah, and I
heavy, like
agree.
an engine repair, you know. And so
But
I think they're trying to work with you guys, I think,
I
pretty
know,
well.
and we want to.
Because we want to, this is a good project. And
I just think maybe the light list of what's light mechanic work is a little long.
Well, you know, overhauling an engine would be something heavy.
Well, that's heavy. That's
heavy. I mean, that's a big
ridiculously
job, noisy. Changing out a window is probably not noisy.
Right.
Or a
I
mirror,
agree with the window.
Or a mirror, or washing a window.
But
or,
once
you
you're turning on the car to see if, or the bus to
know,
see
they have
if
to
it
move
works.
it. They're gonna have to move it. That's what.
That's what I agree.
That's what we're
If you're
talking
gonna
about.
turn it on to move it across the street, then fix it over there.
Well, there's more racket than just fixing it, like a mirror, for example.
But you don't know how much noise they make when they
Well,
are mechanics.
But they do have a business, is the thing. We're
I know,
trying
but
to
it's a
commingle
neighborhood.
the business with
But it's a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, if I
but
may-
it's a business there too.
If I may add, I think the second part, and Bernie, could you, the second part of what you read off, it was basically that the operations could not impact, if you wouldn't mind rereading that?
Sure, are we ready?
Go for it.
All right, for the M1 district operational standards in the city of Santa Ana, any activity permitted in this district shall be conducted in such a manner as to not have a detrimental effect on permitted adjacent uses by reason of refuse matter, noise, light, vibration, or lack of proper maintenance of grounds or buildings.
And one of those uses would be residential, correct?
That is correct.
I'm just saying, just for, okay. So I the way I read that, and staff correct me where I'm wrong, at the very least, we've got hours, we've got a list of operational tasks that can be performed, and we have kind of a catch-all that says, hey, you know, it's like with the concern that was raised, well, if they change out a hose, aren't they gonna have to turn it on, and you're gonna have noise and vibration? But that second portion, what I asked you to read, basically is that catch-all that says, don't go wild with it. You're gonna have to respect the adjacent uses, so you're gonna operate, you're gonna do these things, but don't go so wild to the point that you have that negative impact that the residents of Logan are concerned with.
That is correct.
Okay. I feel good about that.
Do we have any other questions for Bernie since we got him up here? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
No, I'm trying to think what I was going to say. The noise thing, we have gone through this many times. We call the cops don't know nothing. Okay? They don't know the codes, they don't know this, they don't know that, so they lock up their car, drive away. You're saying about we could call on all the noise? We've done it. We had that lady move out of the neighborhood because of the noise from the buses. We've called the police. What happens? Shuts up and they take off. So where's our win or loss on that?
Well, I mean, from our standpoint up here on this dais, I mean, we've got an application for us
I
for
understand
use.
that.
And what I believe myself and my colleagues are trying to do is to come up with conditions, standards, whatever we're gonna call it legally, but to try to limit what impact they're gonna have on you. We're not code enforcement, we're not
No,
the
I know.
police, but I think that at the very least, if we do our job correctly and staff does their job correctly, we're gonna have standards that at least it limits their impact on you. It's not gonna be perfect. I mean, I agree, Logan is subjected to a lot of uses, a lot of industrial uses that many other neighborhoods in the city are not, and that's a fact. But what we're trying to, I think, come up with here is some sort of way to minimize the impact. It's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna be.
I understand
Yeah.
that. I understand everything that you're talking about. I understand what the light of the mechanic work,
Yeah.
okay? We talked about the oil thing the last time. If they're gonna be changing oil there, why not change it over there? So they have that place to put the oil. You know? Same thing. It just goes around and around.
Any other speakers from Logan? Okay, I'd like to bring it back to the commission for a motion, discussion, all the above.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say thank you to staff and to the applicant. It's what I asked earlier, just some sort of standards that everybody can agree on, because at the very beginning, it sounded like one group interpreted what was said at the meeting as something else. It sounds like here, from the work that you guys did, we've got some set of rules that we can all look to and say, are you guys operating on the up and up, yes or no? So I appreciate that.
Anyone else over here? Okay. Anyone wish to make a motion? If not, I'll make a motion. Okay. You want to second it? Maybe so. I'd like to make a motion on, I better go back to item number 1, public hearing, conditional use permit number 2016-18 and strategic plan number 3-2. Do we have a second?
Wait, say it one more time?
Could you,
As amended.
make the requirement
amended,
for
but-
the
As
operational
amended,
plan
okay,
as
thank you,
amended?
yeah.
And
As amended with the.
That's kind of what I was almost wanting you to make the motion.
Well, so the motion is to approve CUP number 2016-18 with the additional operational plan agreed upon this evening between staff and the applicant.
As Commissioner Becerra said.
All right, so I'll second that.
That's my motion. And
I'll second that.
You second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Averino absent. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go to administrative matters. We need to elect officers. I want to bring up the fact that Commissioner Verino is absent. However, she did mention to me that if she was nominated for any chair or vice chair, that she would accept that nomination if that happens. Because she couldn't make it for this meeting or the second one. So we'll first take up the selection of a chairperson for 2016-2017 term. The floor is now open for nominations for chair. Commissioner
I'd like
Bauer.
to nominate Commissioner Verino as chair.
Second. Any other nominations? Okay. All those in favor of Commissioner Verino for chair?
Aye.
Okay, vice chair. I'd like to nominate, can I nominate? Sure. Commissioner Bauer for vice chair. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was easy. And now we have Historic Resources Commission representative. We now take up the selection of Planning Commission representative to serve on the Historic Resources Commission for 2016-2017 term.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Becerra to that position.
I'd like to second that. Will you accept that, Commissioner?
Sure.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was easy. That's it. Absences. Like to,
I'll make a
Motion?
motion that we approve the absence of Commissioner Barino.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, except for Commissioner Barino's absent. Planning manager updates.
I'd like to notify you that Commissioner Mill resigned from his position last, I believe it was Tuesday or Thursday, immediately, so that's why he is not here. And I would like to suggest that we have some sort of event either before or after the next Planning Commission meeting. And we'll be polling you and asking you about that.
Probably the old ship. I'd vote for after. Any other planning manager updates?
No, thank you.
Hassan? Nothing? Okay. Commissioner Bauer? Commissioner McLaughlin?
Nothing.
Commissioner Becerra, you've had the floor tonight.
Well, I just want to thank my colleagues for selecting me to the Historic Resources Commission. And I know we're going to discuss this at another meeting, but I just want to say I think Mark and I had a really productive meeting this afternoon in our committee meeting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what staff brings back to the full Planning Commission. I think it's going to be our next meeting, correct? Yes. Okay, so I just want to applaud you guys. You guys are, as was said during the meeting, we're getting the low-hanging fruit, to try to kind of clean some stuff up, and I just really appreciate what you guys are doing. It really falls in line with being supportive of business and just common sense stuff. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for that.
Commissioner Alderete. Okay. Well, I've enjoyed being chair this year, but I'm going to enjoy not being chair, so especially after today's meeting. Anyway, that being said, and as Commissioner Mill, I will miss Commissioner Mill. I would like to definitely promote having a probably happy hour thing after the meeting, so we can go somewhere off campus, an off-campus celebration.
And if I may.
Yes.
I wanted to thank you for your service. I was remiss in not doing so. And the election of Commissioner Barino, the chairman, my nomination was no reflection on your service. You've performed your services well and very professionally. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.